Hello there and welcome to the program, a show that takes you around the world without a visa, literally speaking. Today our diaspora guest is Dr. Isaiah Oino, the chairman of Stock UK Diaspora Circle that brings together a membership of Kenyans from various corners of the world. And guess how they love their motherland.
Staying in the UK here is great, but also contributing to our country is also great.
Yes, they are keen on investing back home as remittance inflows from abroad continue to rise, with capital markets being one of the key attractions. We have lots lined up for you on this show, but first, here is a glimpse into what is coming up.
The returns in Kenya are significantly higher than the returns that you can get in the UK.
Dr. Isaiah Oino is the chair of Stock UK Diaspora Circle.
We have invested in CIC. We have also invested in Freetown.
Find out how Kenyans living abroad are embracing Kenya's capital markets as the regulator steps up awareness.
There have been intentional efforts to ensure diasporas have their own opportunities which are reserved for them.
And on My Magical Kenya, the young stars in WRC Safari Rally Kenya. Let's begin from Coventry City in the UK, where through a Zoom link, Dr. Isaiah Oino, the chair of Stock UK Diaspora Circle, takes us through their investment priorities and why they are keen on the stock market.
The returns in Kenya are significantly higher than the returns that you can get in the UK.
Dr. Isaiah Oino has been living in the UK since 2003. He's a senior lecturer at Coventry University in the UK. He's also a practicing accountant and the chair of Stock UK Diaspora Circle, an association with a global membership of about 141 Kenyans.
In terms of members distribution, we have majority of the members in the UK. We do have members in the US, in Canada, Australia, and we currently have members in Brazil.
The Circle is an important investment vehicle for its members.
We have invested in Kitengela quite widely. We have invested quite a lot in Kajiado. And also, we're moving now to the next phase where we're constructing units.
Yes, for the past 3 years, Stock UK Diaspora Circle has been an active player in Kenya's real estate sector. The Circle has also invested in stocks.
We have invested in CIC. CIC is one of the biggest insurance companies in Kenya. We have also invested in Freetown. Our aim is to put back the resources into where they generate income. One thing that you must be aware of is that the returns in Kenya are significantly higher than the returns that you can get in the UK. If I put money in Kenya, the interest that you get is probably 10 times the interest that you'll get in the UK here. And the reason as to why is because the interest onto which someone can borrow money in the UK is slightly lower than the interest someone can borrow money in Kenya. So as investors, the investors are interested in the bottom line. And the bottom line is that the higher the return, that's where they want to invest the money in.
As of December 2020, Kenyans in the diaspora sent home a record-breaking 300 billion shillings in remittances despite the COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to the Central Bank of Kenya. With more investments making their way into the country, more and more Kenyans are choosing the country's capital market as a viable vehicle for investing in their motherland.
It's because you can easily monitor. That's the first thing. You can easily monitor and watch the movement of the stock. If I invest in the company and say, I'm going to put some money in a company in Nairobi, very much unlikely I can monitor the movement and withdraw my money as and when I need it. Now, if I invest in Nairobi Stock Exchange in the shares and I need to cash in my investment, that's much quicker than if I was to invest in an ordinary company in Nairobi. So if we invest the money in the stock exchange, it's quite easy for us to withdraw the cash as and when we need to lend to members than investing in a company that perhaps may take quite a substantial amount of time before we get the money.
Dr. Oino says the Stock UK Diaspora Circle has registered positive returns in the stock market, which he attributes to the good work being done by various government agencies.
I always give credit where it's due. The Kenyan government has tried as much as possible to make the environment investable. If you look into doing business, Kenya, as of 2021 now, we're number 3 in sub-Saharan Africa. But there's still a lot of work to be done. I want to invest money in Kenya, knowing very well that as an investor, yes, I'm a Kenyan, but as an investor, I'm protected. Staying in the UK here is great, but also contributing to our country is also great.
Many thanks, Dr. Oino, for those insights. Let's now bring in the regulator, that is Capital Markets Authority, to educate us on what capital markets is all about.
Capital markets play an important role in the growth of a country's economy. But what exactly is it and how does it work? Well, let's break it down. And who better to tell us what it is than Wycliffe Shamir, the CEO of Capital Markets Authority, a government agency that was established in 1989 to regulate and develop the country's capital markets.
Capital markets is where you find long-term funding. Capital markets are usually used to mobilize funds so that these funds are then channeled into protective sectors of the economy. And how do you get these long-term funds? Of course, we speak about issuance of securities. Securities are certain contracts you will enter in as one party with others for you to raise money. You can also decide to use debt. Of course, then you will issue either notes or bonds. And in exchange, again, because these are contracts, you receive money on certain terms, and then of course you repay after a certain period of time.
What Mr. Shamir is referring to are instruments used for one to invest in Kenya's capital markets. Think of them like products available to you, the investor, in your journey towards financial freedom. You can choose to invest in the equity market, which includes buying of shares in the market and becoming a shareholder, which entitles you to dividends when the company makes a profit. You could also choose debt market, where you invest in bonds, which are basically an individual lending to an institution. They are inclusive of treasury bonds, where you are lending to the government, and corporate bonds, where you are lending to companies and thus are entitled to interest after a stipulated period of time. Other instruments include collective investment schemes, online forex trading, derivatives market, and commodities, among others.
The way capital markets are then managed, you find as an investor it's very easy for you to invest because there are specific players who play certain roles for you as an investor. You see, brokers, your advisors will have the current information about your investments. So they will advise you and tell you, by the way, if you have to know, this has been disclosed, because we insist on certain disclosures to be made in good time. You have a right of going to the company which is listed and ask specific information which they have to give you. Those disclosures should be available anytime you require. If it is a company which has issued a bond, it is still the same standard. Whichever information you want to get from this company should be made available to you with a lot of ease. If you look at the rates of returns, you see in markets like this, which are emerging markets, you find those returns are high compared to what you'll get in even very developed markets.
Now that we know what capital markets are, who is eligible to invest in it?
Capital markets are open to everybody. They accommodate you in the position you are in, whether you are a retail investor, whether you are institutional, high net worth, you are a corporate, you are a person, you are a trust, whichever form you find yourself in, you'll find a product which suits you. Today, as we speak, If you went to Nairobi Securities Exchange, their shares you'll buy even at around 2 shillings, 3 shillings, 1 shilling.
Yes, it's that simple. And with the introduction of modern technology, investing in Kenya's capital market is not a reserve of individuals domiciled in the country.
With the rise in technology and the growth of technology, it's no longer just a question of physical presence, that I do not need to be physically present, either out there or for them to come here, for them to be able to make those investments. You can be able to access and follow and track your investments from wherever you are.
If you look at the volumes we move on a daily basis, foreign investors have had a lot of interest, and you find there are those who do it very easily from where they are sitting.
In addition to this, various industry players have gone an extra step in ensuring diaspora participation. ICEA Lion Asset Management is one such player. They are fund managers managing over 220 billion in assets for various investors.
The Kenyans in the diaspora are a very important contributor to the economic growth of this country through the remittances they make. The investor who has 500 shillings with us can invest with us. And the way they would do that is we have a platform. They can access our services through the internet. They can access our service through a portal. What that portal also enables them, just as they're able to make investments, they're also able to make withdrawals. So what we therefore are able to do is to offer a fully fledged service on an online basis so that they can be able to invest and withdraw their funds as and when they need to.
That brings us to the end of part 1 of the show. Let's now take a short break. We have more on the diaspora and capital markets right after the break. Welcome back. Now, as we focus on the opportunities in the capital markets amid increasing interest among Kenyans living abroad, the key question they ask is, how safe?
It is no secret that investing is a risky game. But unlike gambling, investing in capital markets is all about making cautious and informed decisions. The fear is investing in a vehicle that will inevitably lead to losses. However, this is not the case when it comes to Kenya's capital markets.
Capital markets is very highly regulated. The issue of safety, ensuring you are dealing with parties who are regulated, and therefore, if there is anything wrong, you have an opportunity to go and, of course, seek some redress, maybe from the regulator and other arms of government which are available.
The other thing that's very important about investments is what you call liquidity. Liquidity is the ability to access your money when you need it. And that's a very important element of investments. And the other very important element is about security. It's important for clients to know where their funds are invested. And that is why it is also important that we are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, because the Capital Markets Authority requires us to report on a monthly, on a quarterly basis, basically providing all details as to where we've invested those client funds, so that at the end of the day, when we are telling them we are giving them X% of a return, they are able to say, okay, I have invested with ICEA Lion. They're telling me that the return is this percentage, and I can vouch for that, or I can be confident and assured that my money is safe because they have told me that the money is invested in this kind of instruments. And that is something that can be verified.
This keen level of care is also observed when it comes to diaspora investment.
There have been intentional efforts just made to ensure diasporas have their own opportunities which are reserved for them. We have licensed fund manager particularly interested in diaspora kind of like funds so that they can do investments for them, manage their funds. But that doesn't say when you are in diaspora you can't invest through these other fund managers we know.
But it has to be emphasized that investor awareness is key for one to have a successful venture.
They say information is power. And the more information that you have, the more equipped you are to be able to make decisions.
I think there are certain basics one has to understand, because unless then you understand it well, I think you may think you are losing, when in real terms you may not. For example, if you are in certain shares today and you looked at the price list and you saw the price was coming down, it doesn't mean you've lost, because that is not going to be a constant price for those shares that you own. So it is you understanding that you still have time to wait and see how the price can improve over time, and of course take your time, seek advice, and then of course if you want to get out at the right time.
Guided by these principles, Kenyans abroad like Stoke UK Diaspora Sacco have been able to tap into the country's capital market with ease, exploiting the numerous opportunities that have been availed to them.
A Sacco is defined by liquidity. We must be liquid at all times. So, because we need to lend to members. So if we invest the money in the stock exchange, it's quite easy for us to withdraw the cash as and when we need to lend to members than investing in a company that perhaps may take quite substantial amount of time before we get the money.
If you look at the rates of returns, you see in markets like this, which are emerging markets, you find those returns are high compared to what you'll get in even very developed markets. So one, I think it's an issue of, if I'm in diaspora, where do I make most of the money?
The capital markets generally reflect the state of the economy. The Kenyan capital markets has developed significantly over the years. So what has happened is that over the years, we have seen the capital markets grow in terms of the offering that they are providing to investors.
If you look at the performance of the markets, if you look at it in terms of turnovers, be it even in government bonds, you look at, of course, what NSE is giving, these are stable kind of returns you see, performance indicators that you'll see.
Whether you're based in the 254 or based elsewhere, investing in Kenya's capital markets remains a viable space for any investor.
I want to invest money in Kenya, knowing very well that as an investor, yes, I'm a Kenyan, but as an investor, I'm protected.
It's about safety, because you need to be sure that where you're investing, there's an expectation of a return.
And I think this is a message we are strongly sending to people in diaspora, that as you support those who require assistance from you, save something for yourself. Because if you bought a share, if you invested in a bond, it is for your future as a person.
Great insights there. Let's now move into the last segment of our show. And as we marvel at the magic in WRC Safari Rally Kenya, Michael Simanji tells us about the young stars in the event that has brought the whole world to Kenya. Take a look.
My Magical Kenya, brought to you by Chams Adventures.
For the past 3 days, the eyes of the world have been focused on Kenya as the country hosts the 6th edition of the WRC Safari Rally Championships. The high adrenaline event saw rally royalty arrive in the country for 4 days of climbing, drifting, dodging and speeding. And repping the 254 in the event are none other than 26-year-old Makre Kimathi, 22-year-old Hamza Anwar and 22-year-old Jeremy Wahome. Despite their age, the three young stars are highly skilled and well-experienced drivers.
I started off in go-karting when I was 8 years old, and then my ambition then was to race in Formula One. So I started going up the ladder, the motorsport ladder, to get to Formula One. In the 2017, I was second in my autocross championship. I was third the following year. I was the youngest driver to finish the 2019 WRC candidate event, and I'm also the first indigenous driver to finish the 2021 African Rally Championship event that happened in April 23rd to 25th.
We finished 5th in the Equator at 22. I was lying 4th overall with all the African champions inside, Baldev Chagar and Carl Flash Tundo.
The three have been driving Ford Fiesta Rally 3 cars that arrived in the country a couple of days to the event thanks to WRC's FIA Rally Star program in partnership with Kenya Airways.
We are privileged as Kenya Airways to have this opportunity that they trust our cargo team to handle these cars.
It's a really big opportunity. It's nice to now have support from sponsors like Kenya Airways who now help take care of the financial side of things, because anything motorsport is very expensive. I mean, it's tremendous in the terms of now that they've decided to come on board, partner with us in this emphatic journey on trying to make us the future champions. It's really good. It's a really big boost, not only for my career but also for the other drivers who are part of the FI Race-Star program. At least now we have an opportunity to gain some knowledge from overseas, the likes of Europe, Asia, and try and see if we can become better drivers than we are currently.
The event is said to have attracted an upwards of 70 million viewers in over 150 countries, who have experienced firsthand the majesty and splendor of Kenya's Rift Valley.
We believe that this partnership is very beneficial to us. First of all, it's mutually beneficial. Secondly, it is beneficial to Kenya. Kenya Airways bears the name Kenya. It is important for us to use the name Kenya, to sell Kenya. And that's what WRC Safari Rally is going to do.
This is expected to boost the country's economy and reclaim Kenya's Safari Rally glory on the global stage.
This is a very, very important contribution to this program, because these drivers, we just don't want them to drive cars. We just don't want them to, be drivers. We want them to become champions. And when you are a champion, you're much more than a driver. You are an ambassador.
Africa as itself is not really on the scene, and through the Rally Star program and the help of Kenya, we will be representing Kenya, and we are finally making our mark on the world rally scene. So we're stepping out of our comfort zone of Africa and moving to the bigger thing.
Thank you, Michael, for that report that brings us to the end of the show. And to our viewers, it's always a pleasure having your company. And be sure to catch up with our many more inspiring productions by subscribing to our YouTube channel, that is Chams Media TV. Many thanks for watching, and see you again next time.